those of you who don't know me, my name is James Campbell, and I am a true crime survivor. Back in 2019, my family was stalked, and our home was invaded. The suspect of the crime planned to surgically alter our family. We are a military family, and I know that getting our story out will help other people who may become victims.
Hello, my name is Mullet Man Mike, and I am enjoying my new residence at the murder she shed after Holly had that unfortunate accident and donated her murder she shed to me. I know I'm not a looker like she was, but here we are. Speaking of someone taking over someone else's house, the cases we are discussing today involve a little thing called frogging. How would you like to come home one dark and stormy evening, find a dark figure hiding under your bed, and later find out this person has been living there with you, in some cases plotting to murder you, which is not what I did with Holly. Everyone knows that Mr. Ghostface murdered her. Or if you watched the last video on this channel, you know that I did not do it. I won't deny I got kicked out of my mom's trailer home and needed a place to live, but I'm completely innocent of murder. I just happened to luck out that Holly donated her she shed to this striking fellow. By the way, before we began the true crime stories of frogging horror, happy Michael-ween. Honolulu should be a dream place for any young couple to live, but for the Campbells, it became their worst nightmare. James and Brittany Campbell were friends in high school, and then they later reconnected when James had 2 sons of his own. They fell in love. After they reconnected, the couple moved to Honolulu with their 2 kids, got married. James was in the Navy and was so happy to be stationed at such a beautiful place. Blessed for sure, because Big Mike wishes he had a cute little newlywed to cuddle with in such a beautiful place. My mom once said, "Mike, one day you will find a cute little lady that owns a cute little trailer home and live happily ever after." Or maybe my mom said, "I wish you would find a lady in a trailer home and get the hell out of my house." Either way, my mama only wants what's best for me, just like this young couple had until mysterious things began happening inside their home. The cute little couple moved into a 2-story home with a crawl space attic included. A nice little place to stash your extra beer, if you ask me. Brittany did not have much time to unpack, and so in their garage was unopened boxes along with James' musical instruments. One day she just decided to go into the garage and get started on that unpacking. She opened the door and noticed some of the boxes were opened and James' musical instruments had been moved. She just assumed maybe one of the kids had been looking for something and just had moved stuff all around. Then a few days later, Brittany was doing her makeup tutorials. You know, women, makeup tutorials. Is that how you say it? Tutorials? I don't know. Mike's not sure. Anyway, she's doing her makeup tutorials when she heard a door slam shut. She got up, looked around, and couldn't figure out which door had slammed. So she just went back to putting on makeup. Seems wise. That night after the family went to bed, Brittany heard a door open and then close again. She asked James if he had locked the front door. And of course, he said he had. He also said that he had not heard a door. James believed Brittany was just being paranoid and he just fell back to sleep. Brittany could not go back to sleep, so she went downstairs and found that, guess what? The front door was unlocked. Brittany locked it back and figured her husband had just thought he had locked the door. You know, men. You know how we are. She thought maybe the noise she heard was just the wind. It's always the wind, isn't it? All remained normal in the house for the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, James was playing the piano when he saw a shadow of a person walk in front of the living room window. James got up to look out the window and he saw nothing. He just figured that someone had heard him playing, so they just got a little nosy and tried to look through his window. A few days later, James was home alone when he noticed a note, and he thought it was from his wife. He thought she had left him a dirty note. Wasn't that kind of dirty note. It was like, you better clean the house kind of dirty note. Not the good kind of dirty note. It said your rehabilitation starts today, so do as I did, choose a house, clean it, set up devices. He assumed it was his wife's way of hinting that he cleaned the house. He's a better man than me because if you asked me to do all that, I would tell you that's woman's work. Old Mike would just stick to what I do best. Drink, fart, and be merry. 3 weeks later, the family decided to go to the cinema, and Brittany wanted her favorite blanket to take with her. So she started looking all around for her favorite blanket around the whole house, but she couldn't find it. They ended up going to the movies without it. When the family returned home that evening, they were shocked to see Brittany's favorite blanket perfectly folded and placed on the couch. She looked on the couch. Now everyone was terrified and believed that another person was entering their home. They were so scared that they decided to have a getaway. They returned a week later on September 20th, 2019, and after they pulled into their home, they immediately saw James' bike lying in the driveway. He knew he'd locked it up in the garage before leaving. When they opened the garage, it was a mess. And there was orange peel bottles with just peels lying next to all the scattered things around the garage. The family concluded that they'd been robbed, and Brittany called 911. After placing the youngsters within the car, James took a big hammer from the garage and started trying to open the front door. He suspected that the intruder was still in the home. It turned out that he was right because as soon as he began to open that door, someone from the inside began to tighten the handle. And then he saw someone's eye within the peephole, and a person's voice from behind the door said, "This is not your house." Strange man cracked the door. James then realized the mystery man was wearing his clothes. The man reassured the two that he took care of their cat while they were gone. Furious, James used all his strength and at last rushed inside, immediately throwing himself on this stranger and knocking him to the ground. He threatened him with a hammer, after which he then dragged him out of the house onto the lawn. The police soon arrived, handcuffed the man, and immediately learned his identity. He turned out to be a 23-year-old person named Ezekiel Zayas. Meanwhile, James and Brittany entered their home and realized the horrors of what had been happening while they were gone. Their cat was locked in a cage with no water. The piano was not even in the living room anymore. The furniture had several stains on it. The only room that was tidy was their son's room. They noticed that he had done all their son's laundry and made the son's bed, leaving it immaculate. The kitchen was also stuffed with debris. Every part was strewn with pans, pots, plates, and bottles of water, and some kind of strange liquid. In the bedroom, James found a diffusion towel with many sharp knives neatly arranged on it and a laptop next to it. When he opened the laptop, he saw a document titled Omnivore Trials, Rehabilitating Rat-Like People. When he began reading this document, his hair stood on end. It was a diary where Ezekiel described how he had secretly watched the Campbell family by breaking into their house and peering through their windows. He talked about how James and Brittany had discussed having a baby, and he felt that they should forget about having another baby and just take care of the 2 kids that they had. It only got more bizarre. He considered the family to be human rats on which he needed to perform corrective surgical procedures. These procedures included limb amputation and gender reassignment. And to calm the Campbells down in order to perform these procedures, he was going to feed them the drugs that was found in the garage. The man had also looked at websites to buy surgical tables as well as how to perform certain surgeries at home. He had researched ways to implement his plans. Another computer, meanwhile, had a video on it in which he appeared to be mocking Brittany as she was putting on her makeup, doing those makeup tutorials, with a really bizarre twist on it. There was also a video on the computer showing Ezekiel sitting completely naked in a chair, Brittany's chair, looking into the laptop's camera and making his plans. Well, and I thought I was strange. This makes old Mike seem normal. Following his arrest, Ezekiel was charged with burglary and was released. Shortly after, he was arrested again for allegedly vandalizing a Buddhist temple. After being arrested again, he was put in the same prison cell as 62-year-old Vance Grace, who was just weeks away from freedom after spending 34 years behind bars for theft and drug offenses. There in the cell, Ezekiel beat and stomped Vance Grace to death. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison. In July 2014, Brian O'Neill is living with his wife and 2 cats in a 3-story condo north of Seattle. It was an exceptionally hot day in July, so Brian and his wife decided to grab a quick bite at a restaurant after work instead of going home and heating up their condo by cooking. They ended up not getting home until 9 that evening. As they opened their front door, they felt something just wasn't quite right. There was just a few things out of place, like their carry-on luggage was out of the closet. Brian's wife thought he had got it out of the closet, so Brian didn't argue. He was just too tired to argue and wanted to go to bed. And I understand that, bud. My ex used to say she was taking a restraining order out on me. She accused me of stalking her, and I didn't deny it because old Mike just doesn't like to argue. It wasn't true, of course. They decided to go on to bed, but as they made their way to the bedroom, they realized that their bedroom door was closed. They knew for a fact they never closed that door. They walked into their bedroom, which was super dark because all the curtains and blinds had been closed. Brian flipped on the light, and that's when they saw that their bedroom had been ransacked. Clothes and jewelry were thrown all over the room. Then they noticed 2.5-inch screws jammed in between their bedroom door and the door jamb. Brian searched their house and found nothing strange. Felt that someone had just came in to vandalize their home and then left. Whoever had come in had spread lotion all over and everything, including door handles, inside of shoes, clothing, even inside of books. Brian called the cops and reported a break-in. The police looked around the condo and noticed a cracked window. But Brian's condo was on the 2nd floor, and they decided there was no way anyone could have gotten up to the 2nd floor to climb through that window. The police searched the whole house and took pictures. After not finding anyone inside the home, the police then left. After the police left, the couple tried to straighten up the place. Brian's wife noticed that all of her shoes were scattered around, with most having lotion on the inside. Then she noticed a pair of boots that did not belong to her. They also noticed clumps of blonde hair that had been cut, intermixed with the shoes. Just added another layer of creepy to the situation. Around midnight, they're still cleaning when Brian hears a weird wheezing sound. The sound seemed to come from under their bed. Brian assumed it was one of his cats making noises under the bed. This is when he looks over to the corner of the room and saw both of his cats staring at him. It was at this point that he knew someone was most likely under their bed. Brian and his wife exited the room and slammed the door so fast that they actually left one cat inside. Brian's wife became worried and ran back in to grab the other cat. They left the building with both cats in hand and then called the police again. It was the same 2 cops that came earlier. When Brian unlocked the condo for the cops, there was a tall figure dressed all in black standing in the living room, attempting to squeeze into a closet door. The police opened the closet door and dragged the suspect out. It was a woman, still carrying in her arms Brian's wife's shoes. I knew women loved shoes, but dang. Police recognized this woman as someone that trespassed at construction sites. So the screws, they made sense now. The cops searched under the couple's bed and found their biggest kitchen knife they had in their house under their bed. Then he noticed fabric coming from the bottom of the box springs. Brian realized this woman had been stabbing the bottom of the bed that they had been sitting on all night. Old Mike's encountered some crazy broads on my time here on Earth, But I believe this one takes the cake. Well, hell, over some shoes. Only a woman would do that. Our last story involves a Frogger stalker and an OnlyFans model, so you can't leave me alone now. Those OnlyFans models can be scary things, don't mind. Don't be mad because you're my OnlyFan and I was just kidding. I kid. The OnlyFans model wishes to remain anonymous in this story, so we're going to call her Jane. Jane lived in New Hampshire and had an OnlyFans service in which she had nude images of herself in which you could pay for a subscription to ogle her beauty. One young man found Jane to be very attractive and paid for a subscription. 20-year-old Mauricio Damien Guerrero became obsessed with Jane. I'm just going to call him Damon because those other names are just too fancy for me to pronounce. I mean, old Mike barely made it to the 5th grade because when I was having my first day of school assembly in the 5th grade, my Uncle Chuck came up to the gym naked and not afraid that day. Well, my teachers didn't appreciate it, so I just decided that I wouldn't go back. My mama said it was okay because Uncle Chuck blew it for everybody. My mom said he even blew my dad once, and that ended their marriage. Well, anyway, enough about me. After a while, Jane gave Damien her phone number, and they began to exchange messages back and forth. Through the messages, they continued to exchange content and money. They only conversed through the phone because Damien lived all the way in Pennsylvania. So Jane agreed to give Damien her address so he could actually mail her gifts now. He mailed her a big TV and a fireplace at her request. He also continued to mail her other gifts. She thought he lived so far away it wouldn't hurt to let him have her address. You're never getting Big Mike's address. I don't care how many gifts I get. Big Mike trusts no one. On December 7th, 2021, Jane went for a little run in front of her house. She felt an eerie feeling and felt like she was being followed. She looked over to see a dark gray truck, and the person inside appeared to look like Damien. She texted after she got back home and asked him if he had been following her. But he denied it. He said, "That was not me." She then said, "Send me a picture of your current location on your phone." He would not send it to her, and eventually admitted that he was the one in the dark gray truck. She told him to go back home, but later texted him and said she enjoyed having a stalker. On December 22nd, Damien texts Jane telling her that he is driving to her house. The drive is 6 hours from his house to hers. Jane texts him and tells him to go back home. Then after he turns around to head back home, Jane texts him again, letting him know she regrets that decision, and so then he turns back around to head back to her house. She answers her door wearing only a robe, and she invites Damien in, and they have. After he leaves, she tells Damien she does not want to continue having any type of relationship. A few weeks later, he texts her to look out her window, and when she looked out, he was standing there looking inside her home. On January 20th, he drives back to her home, but does not tell her. He enters a barn that is attached to the house. There he finds a poem that Jane had wrote in school. He takes a picture of the poem and then records her through the barn window into the house. So creepy. This was the beginning of his creepy behavior of entering her home. On Damien's next visit to the house, he was able to get inside of the house by a window that actually connected the barn to the house. After entering, he got Jane's house key and went to Home Depot to make a copy. Everything after this, he just used the key. While inside the house, he would take photos of each room and take items from Jane's home, such as underwear and lingerie from her laundry basket. Sometimes he would stay in Jane's attic for extended periods of time, and sometimes he would just drive home. While Jane slept, he would enter her bedroom to record her sleeping and also lifted blankets in order to record her privates. On February 9, 2021, Jane was sleeping when she awoke to a noise. She saw a figure standing at her bedroom door. She thought at first it was her mom, so she called out, "Mom!" and the person took off running. She walked down the hallway to find her attic door completely open. Jane called the police. By that time, Damien had crawled out of the attic window and slipped onto the roof. After Damien was arrested, Jane found out that he had spent a couple of hours in her bedroom from 2 to 4 a.m. trying to get into her phone, looking at her childhood mementos, and taking a video of her privates because he said he wanted to see them one last time. Damien was charged with 4 counts of burglary. He has been released on bail, but banned from contacting the woman or going to the state of New Hampshire. He is required to wear a tracking device. I hope you enjoyed old Mike's stories tonight. Maybe I'll come visit you sometime. Would you like that? Oh, Mike came to your house? You can just see me staring straight into your window right now, can't you? Make sure you pull those blinds tonight. I'll let y'all go. Enjoy your night. Sleep tight. Don't let the old Mike's bite.
Maybe old Mike shouldn't quit his day job. I'm trying, but this is hard work telling this true crime stuff. I found this beer can on the side of the road. No, quite literally, I did. Free beer. I'm always out for free beer. At trailer park, they're always throwing them out. My fire's doing weird things behind me, trying to catch old Mike on fire for the bad things he's done. My husband looking at me through the window. Like, you crazy witch. What are you doing now? 2 weeks later, James was playing the piano. Let's try that again. He turned out to be a 23-year-old person named Ezekiel Zayas. I don't know. The only thing I could really call a rat is my hair. When he began reading this document, his hair stood on end. But he didn't have a good set of hair like me, though. Either way, his hair stood on end. Our last story involves a Frogger stalker. The OnlyFans model wishes to remain anonymous in this story, so we're going to call her Jane. Because that was my ex-wife's name. Nah, not really. I'm not going to tell you my ex-wife's name. I would never stalk. I didn't murder no one. Ghostface did. He murdered Holly. Sticking to it, that's what happened. Bye, we love you at the murder she shed. Holly told me I was supposed to say that. Always say you love him, oh Mike. Always say you love him. No, Mike does. Oh, Mike loves everybody, especially you, baby. All right, see you later. Oh, by the way, happy Michael-Wayne. I hope Ghostface don't get me Halloween night. I hear he's going to be out again. Bye.